And now I have the opportunity and the privilege to introduce our guest teacher for this morning, Reverend Jim Keat. Jim is the digital minister at Riverside Church in New York City and the director of online innovation at Convergence, a diverse collective of faith-based leaders, learners, artists, activists, communities, and congregations. He is also a digital consultant to various progressive faith agencies and organizations. He's the producer of original media projects from the Riverside Church, such as Be Still and Go, The Word Made Fresh, Church Talk, and more. Jim is a divergent thinker, an ideation specialist, and an aspiring minimalist. He co-founded Free and Simple with his wife, Chelsea, a platform to share their Airstream travels and thoughts on minimalism and simplicity. You can follow their adventure at freeandsimple.life, and you can find out more about Jim on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Ideas Done Daily, or visit jimkeat.com. Jim and I have shared an office. We've shared matching slippers to wear in the office we shared because the office we shared didn't have heat. And we've also shared many stupid arguments over the years. He's one of my favorite people, and I'm so glad he's joining us at Open Circle this morning. So buckle up, everybody. This is Jim Keat.
Good morning, Open Circle, or good afternoon, or good evening if you're watching this live, or maybe watching the recording later. Either way, it is wonderful to be with you today, albeit virtually. Now, for the teaching today, we're going to do a bit of time travel, so buckle up, summon your inner Doc Brown, and we're going to start by going back to 1969. Because in 1969, one of the first iterations of what we know as the internet came to be. It was called ARPANET, because it was developed by the Advanced Research Projects Agency, ARPA. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm glad we ended up calling it the Internet instead of the ARPANET. But back at the end of the 60s and the beginning of the 70s, ARPANET, that was the name. Now, the ARPANET connected 4 universities initially. It allowed them to share files without being in the same physical location or on the same local network. And I know this all feels so basic to us, but 50 years ago, sharing a file across the distance was a brand new idea. Now, this system was initially designed for sharing research papers and reports and the data and that sort of thing. But in 1972, Ray Tomlinson, an MIT engineer, came up with a way to send a file to a specific person on the ARPANET, not just sharing it with everyone who could go online. He used the @ symbol to direct the file to a specific folder on a different site. Something like mlaidlaw@opencirclecommunity.org. That sort of thing. Because this is the invention of email, 1972. And this new invention, on top of the already new invention of the ARPANET, quickly changed everything. This system was designed to share research and data, but by 1974, just 2 years later, email accounted for 75% of the traffic on the ARPANET. Rather than sharing data on their research, people just wanted to spend time connecting with other people. And that's what humans do. We don't want to just write dissertations. We want to write letters. We don't want to just give speeches. We want to talk with people, or at least some people do, I think. And when it came to the invention of the internet and the invention of email, we don't want to just upload files and research data. We want to send messages to our friends, to make new friends, to use this technology to be with other people. And this is nothing new, especially for the church and for people of faith. We see it in the first chapter of John. The Word became flesh and made its dwelling among us. Or perhaps if we tune our ears today, we can make room to hear it say, the Word became fresh. Now, this is incarnation. It's about more than just being in the flesh. It's about being present. Just like the ARPANET was more than uploading files. It was connecting with another person, being present. God didn't just upload the Bible for us to read. God works through the people who connect with other people, who connect with other people. An ongoing incarnational presence, person to person, encountering God along the way. But really, we all learned this back in 1989. When we first heard The Little Mermaid sing, "I want to be where the people are." Too far? No, I don't think so. Come on, we all have a good Little Mermaid theology, right? Your incarnational theology is rooted in being present with the people. And this is the work of the church, the work of God, to be where the people are, not shouting from a distance, declaring an us and a them, an in and an out. So as the world continues to spin and evolve, the ARPANET, eventually becoming the internet that we know and love and loathe today, we have to continue to be where the people are, to be with them, present, together, the Word made fresh, dwelling among us, all around us. You see, because virtual is not the opposite of real. Sometimes we think it is. Like, oh, this is real and that's just not quite real. Virtual is not the opposite of real. Virtual is the opposite of physical, and they are both real. These online connections, from the first email sent in 1972 to the TikTok video you were just scrolling through on your phone, that's right, I see you, it's all real. They're the connections between real people. And if we want to follow a Jesus who models incarnation, dwelling among us, being with the people, then we need to be with the people as well, in person and online. And by the way, if you're doing any of the in-person dwelling among us things in your life right now, please do it safely, wear a mask, love your neighbor, you know the drill. But the church, at times, maybe a lot of times, can be weary of change, trying something new. What? Email? What is this new devil technology? Well, if you know anyone who's not into trying something new in the church, just tell them to avoid Isaiah 43 verse 19, where God says, "I'm about to do a new thing." Wait, slow down there, God. Did you get this new thing approved by all the appropriate committees first? You see, back in the middle of the 15th century, we're time traveling again, some church leaders were weary about a new thing. There was a new communications technology, and they were convinced that this new technology was going to cause the monks to just become lazy. If Gutenberg's printing press idea takes off, what are the monks going to do? They're just going to be lazy all the time. Besides, the Word of God is something to be spoken and heard, not printed by a robot. If it's not spoken aloud with your breath, does it even have the Spirit in it? Or if you need it in a book, at least write it by hand, the way it's always been done. That's what they might have been saying to Gutenberg. But can you imagine if the church, or even the world for that matter, had ignored Gutenberg? I mean, I can imagine it quite readily, because we hear the same sorts of comments about the ways that churches and Christians and people of faith can, or perhaps should, utilize the internet in our world today. You can't use that. That's not real church. Those aren't real connections. Well, they're real people. The church has always been more than a building. That's Sunday School 101. The church is the people. And if we believe that God can be found in all things, from sunsets to sonnets, why not also social media and the ways we connect with one another online? You see, just as the printing press transformed the world and the church, the internet is already doing the same. Only perhaps this revolution is maybe better than the last, because rather than only having some people with a voice to be heard or published, now we can all see and hear one another, a pixelated priesthood of all believers, a great iCloud of witnesses. Now, we're talking about all this today. how we are called and compelled to be incarnationally present in person and online, in physical and virtual spaces, because they're all real spaces. And it's fitting because next Sunday is Pentecost Sunday, the day when the church, that's church with a capital C, remembers how the Spirit of God filled the room and pushed the followers of Jesus out into the world, and she worked through the people, causing the good news of love and justice to be heard in whatever language the crowds were able to understand. Because being present with someone is more than just standing there next to them. It's speaking a language they can actually hear. It's not just shouting at them, hoping they will finally get what you're saying. It's being empathetically present, incarnationally present, in person, online, physical, virtual. It's all real. Now, this past year, I think, has been a perpetual Pentecost, reminding us that the church is not the building we gather in, but the people of God alive and active in the world, even if we've had to do it from home lately. The church never closed. The building doors might have just been closed. The church is always alive and active, so long as the people are alive and active. The church online is still the church. And we need the church to be present. We need the people to be present in all of the places we find ourselves. You see, just like Pentecost, we're learning to speak a new language. We're finding God work in us and in spite of us in ways that we might not have known possible. We're trying new things. We're allowing God to work in us for the sake of the world. Because even when we can't show up in person, we can show up online. Social media can be more than a place to shout, but a space to listen, to hear what's been said for so long. Zoom calls, this sort of video sort of thing we're all used to, overwhelmed with, inundated with, well, they're not just a sea of faces on a glowing screen, but they're a glimpse into someone else's world. Look them in the eyes. Notice their background. Where are they situated? How are they feeling today? Virtual's not the opposite of real. It's the opposite of physical, and they are both real. We need to be where we are and use what we have to reach and connect with the people in the world around us. Paul wrote letters. Once upon a time, that was a new technology. He sent them along the Roman road as he traveled from city to city. If that's not the first iteration of the internet, I don't know what is. The original information superhighway, although probably even slower than a dial-up modem. Luther and other reformers printed their books thanks to Gutenberg's revolutionary technology. Now, this doesn't mean that in our world today we just all have to become blue-haired televangelists asking people to touch the screen and receive a blessing if they make a donation so that we can have a private jet while scalping tickets to a spaceship called heaven. No, the internet is not a new frontier for evangelism. It's a new invitation to be present. We must lay down our colonial instincts and be present with the people around us. Not to take them somewhere else or even bring them something that we have but they don't, but simply to find God already here, wherever your here might be. So, go make a YouTube video. Post something on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, log into Clubhouse, resurrect your Zanga page, MySpace. Whatever you do, do it to be an incarnational presence of the love and justice of God in this world. And you don't have to do all the things. Just be present where you are and be present for the people around you, both in person and online. And together, we can work for a world of love and justice on earth and online as it is in heaven. Amen.